Water that stays on the fields. What do you call water staying on a field which is not from a river or similar? At least in Hungarian, flood is when flowing water leaves its normal boundaries. But there are cases when there is not enough drainage and rain or snowmelt just stays on the fields, and this is detrimental to any normal food growing activity, so not like a rice paddy. Is there a word for this kind of standing water in English? Images, this URL, here if it helps.
If the source of the water is rain on its way to the river on flat saturated ground and not an overflow from the river, it is called ponding or ponded field. It is one of several types of flooding. Ponding is a type of flooding that can happen in relatively flat areas. Rainwater falling in an area is normally stored in the ground, in canals or lakes, or is drained away, or pumped out. When more rainwater enters a water system than can be stored, or can leave the system, flooding occurs. In this case, rain is the source of the flood, not water coming from a river, but water on its way to the river. That's why it is also called pluvial flood. Floodsite.net. It is the term used in scientific literature. An analytical solution is provided for predicting time-dependent seepage into an array of equally spaced parallel ditch drains in a homogeneous and anisotropic soil medium underlain by an impervious layer and receiving water from a ponded horizontal field of infinite extent. The solution can account for both unequal levels of water in the adjacent drains and variable depths of ponding at the soil surface. ScienceDirect.com.
Marsh is my first instinct, but that would be like a rice paddy. What you are looking for is a temporary type of estate for a normally dry terrain. Standing water comes to mind as the actual term.
It's called inundation, flooding, ODO, or you can simply refer to it as stagnant water/water stagnation. The state of not flowing or moving. ODO. Usage. The field is inundated with flood water.
I would suggest the adjectival form flooded. Stagnated land suggests terrain which is soaked with water, but stagnated waters means water that is still. The term inundation is more about volume. Google Images seems to agree that flooded fields is in common use. Several farmers had to rescue animals from flooded fields, BBC. Cambridge dictionaries use the same example in their definition. Covered with water, flooded fields.
Still water formed, for example, by the pooling of fallen rain in an area with poor drainage, can be called standing water. Of water, stagnant or still. OD. It's used both as a description of stillness as well as a description of the stagnancy typically associated with still, small bodies of water like puddles.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.